And you come in pretty early into his life, no? Paano ba ang kailan ba kayo no?
I got to know him, I think, in the 70s, mid
70s.
mid 70s.
Okay.
I have known him through my sister because they were classmates in UP High School. And then sometime in the mid 70s, he was a PC general at the time. Angel came to study in Philadelphia. Angel, the daughter,
eldest daughter. Yeah.
came to study in Primor, so they would come and visit, and that's how I started my relationship with them, sort of, in a personal way.
Hindi kayo nakita nung when he was much younger, kaklase siya ni Tita Edoy that time? Or you just heard of him?
No, because, yeah, they were classmates. I used to hear of the First Lady, Ming, because Idoy, my sister, and Ming were both in IS. So even at that time, I used to see her. But Eddie was always, he was very active at the time in the PC, I think. So I never really had much to deal with him at that time,
But you got to know them. You got
pretty well in a personal way in the 70s.
70s.
First of all, I was based in Philadelphia, and the sister of the First Lady, Ming, was in Philadelphia in that day. I'm talking about Linda McCabe.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so we were very close in a personal way, and
How did you become close?
well, I became close to Angel and Linda McCabe, and then followed Chula, who also studied in Philadelphia. So through these interactions with the children, I would come home here as a balikbayan in those days, and they would invite us to family gatherings, and I found him to be a very, very humorous guy. He was not. He was not in private. It's very enjoyable company. He was not stiff like a military man, really. And he very pleasant to be with. And so that started sort of our personal relationship. And then Edsa happened,
Oh, okay.
and
Those were pretty turbulent times, Like the 70s when
yeah.
martial law was declared.
Yes,
And
yes.
then
Yeah.
he was one of the highest ranking
Yeah,
officials.
but I
in the,
tell you, before that time, when he was always number 2 to General Ver, I think a lot of Filipinos, a lot of people really respected him, even in the States.
Also.
Our contacts, they really respected him. But we're sort of disappointed that in the face of so much, you might say, charges of corruption in the Marcos administration, he was always very quiet, non-committal. He would never criticize anybody and so forth and so on. And I don't know, I think
he kept it to himself?
I think I might have asked him that people are expecting you to be more vocal. And he said, well, I am a soldier. I follow authorities. I work for him, and that's our training, to be a soldier. Yeah.
What was that? Very professional.
I think
how
so.
did that hit you? I mean, that kind of. How did that affect you? How did you see him in that light?
I really felt like if he became a little bit vocal about it, he would lose his job. Take Marcos. I think he was waiting for the right time. I think deep inside, I think he really did not agree with a lot of the things going on in the government at that time, but he wouldn't be vocal. He was waiting for the right time, and the right time was Edsa. That's when
86.
all of a sudden 86.
Oh, oh.
That's and he got a lot of admirers at the time.
I guess what sparked it all, was in '83,
Yeah, that's the assassination.
Of,
But he was very quiet at that time.
you seem to be familiar with the medical profession. You're a doctor, but
I am a doctor, yes,
okay,
yes.
and your specialty is
Radiology.
Oh, radiology.
But just unlike other doctors in the States, in my time, I made it a point to come home very frequently. I would be here once or twice a year.
Oh.
I'll say balikbayan. So I really felt very attuned to the country and the issues and the various personalities. And so I never felt isolated at all.
Did you get a feel of FVR's mind during that period after the assassination and then leading up to '86? I mean, if you remember, there was a protest movement.
Yes,
that
yes,
eventually
yes,
came
yes.
out. We had snap elections, and then there were calls for
In the States,
Letty Shahani, for example, withdrew her support. And there were similar calls for FDR to do the same thing.
Yes.
To,
in the States, I became close to the activist politicians over there. Raul Manglapos
okay.
was there at that time. Harrison Alvarez was there at that time. And we used to have some informal gatherings and so forth. And one of the comments I used to hear was they were disappointed with him,
okay.
that he wouldn't be vocal, he wouldn't resign. They felt Letty Shahani had more guts than he had. Letty Shahani resigned
Yes.
in those days. But my own feeling, knowing him personally, is that he was just very cautious. It was not the right time. I think he was just waiting. So to me, he was a very calculating general. Not very impulsive, and it showed. It showed when he was managing the Edsa revolution. He was never impulsive, in ordering a counter attack on the opposition soldiers and so forth. And even during the Gringo Hunasan coup d'etat,
coup d'etat.
which we thought in the States, we were watching that, we thought it would succeed, But he managed it very well, with coolness and no impulsive decisions and so forth. It worked.
They called him Steady Eddie.
Steady Eddie. Yeah, that's true. That is the thing.
So when he decided to withdraw his support, 86, shortly after this,
I learned it right away because I was very close to Paeng Salas, who at the time was in the United Nations. He was chief of the population department of the United Nations. And the moment it broke out, he said he got a phone call from Enrile, Paeng Salas, who told him that I am starting this and so forth and so on. And Enrile told him off. I said, "You're crazy. Why are you doing that? They'll kill you."
So it didn't come to you as a surprise then that FBR withdrew his support?
Well, it was greeted wildly in the States, you know. I mean, it was really wild news for everybody, and said, wow, it's good. It's good he finally decided to go against. Yeah, and that was the reaction. That's also my personal reaction. Yeah.
Okay. Uh, well, his career,
Yeah, well, it took
fruitful
off.
as it was in the military, I mean, went on much further.
Yeah.
He became secretary. Well, he was immediately promoted to chief of staff,
Yeah,
and
and then
then
national
the
defense.
secretary of
Yeah,
national
yeah.
defense. And did you ever think that he would go for or make a run for the presidency?
You know, I asked Paeng Salas, who do you think would be the best successor to Marcos? And he said, you know, you are a friend of my classmate, Eddie Ramos. He is the best to succeed Marcos. That's what Paeng Salas said.
When did you ask him that?
After before the Edsa revolution,
Before
before
pa.
that, he would be the best. There's a lot of people angling for the job. And he said Imelda is definitely angling for the job with the support of General Ver and so forth. But the best guy in the Philippine scene today, I think, is Eddie Ramos. Paeng Salas had so much admiration for him. They were classmates
Yeah.
in school.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Oh. But, well, Mrs. Aquino became president, you know? And then, so he became chief of staff, secretary of
yeah.
national defense. Yun nga, no?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then he decided to run.
Yes. And for
Did
a
you
while,
know that he was going to run? Did you have an idea?
no, not in a personal way, but at that time, one of his children was also studying in Philadelphia. I became very close to all his children because I was like a godfather to them.
Okay.
So Christy at that time was a student, and she was the one who was saying that I hope he doesn't run for president. I hope he doesn't. I said, why do you say that? Because all the more he would have no time for us, something like that. You know? And that was what started in my mind that, oh, he might run for president, I guess.
Oo, kasi nababanggit na nung anak
Yeah,
eh.
yeah. But what was disappointing to me was I thought he would have had big support from other politicians by acclamation. But he never did not have much support.
Did you help out? Did you help
Yes.
FVR?
Yes. We had.
But you were in the States.
I was in the States. A lot of Filipinos in the States are active, especially professionals. You know, at one time we had a meeting. Well, you know, Lilia Calderon, Clemente. We were very close. Lilia was in New York, very well off, very prominent investment banker, and we organized group meetings in our little ways. You know, we organized group meetings, trying to see how we could help. There would be Filipinos from the World Bank and from the IMF who would come, and we used to have these informal gatherings. And I remember what time it was, maybe 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and they wanted to talk to him and ask him a few questions, and asked me if I have enough access to call him. I said, my gosh, it is so early. Well, Lilia said, well, try.
It's a 12-hour time
Yeah.
difference.
4 o'clock there was 4 a.m. here.
Yeah.
So I said, well, I will try anyway because I'm sure the answer will not, the one who will pick up the phone would be one of the attendants or one of the security
One of the
people.
aides, yeah.
Yeah, so we'll just ask him. And he came to the phone. And and then he told me, anything, put it on your speakerphone so the others could hear. So they were talking on the speakerphone. Some of the people from Washington, D.C. were asking him. He was very, very accommodating.
What were they asking him about?
About his programs,
okay.
what do you like to accomplish, things like that, general questions. And,
Program of government?
something like that.
Talaga. But that must have taken some amount of convincing also from your end. I mean, people wouldn't just come, di ba? Sit down and have a informal or a gathering of
sure,
that
sure.
nature. Ano?
But let me
Paano
tell
mo
you-
binenta?
Let me tell you, we were mostly from UP.
Oh, okay.
Mostly from, so we had some alumni dealings with each other. Some are contemporaries and so forth. And
Of FVR?
no, our group. So on weekends, we would gather. Whoever would be interested to come, we would gather. And most of the time, I offered my place in New Jersey because it's between New York and Washington.
Oo nga. Oo nga.
And we were always discussing how we could help. And when it was definite he was going to run, he has been nominated and all of that, then we tried to pass the bag, see how we could help financially and so forth. And we did help in our own little way.
What convinced them that
No, they really respected Ramos, I think.
that he was the man?
Yeah.
Well, no. What were the traits? What were the
I think
points
they really respected him as a very honest man and very professional, and would be a nice fit to run the government. Being also a military man, he could probably instill discipline in the people and so forth. Those were the more or less popular sentiments of the Filipinos.
You said that they would ask him about his programs
They,
and
on the phone, on the speaker phone, they would ask him questions like that. What do you intend to accomplish? What do you, things like that. But he was very nice, very gracious. They talked for about half an hour, I think.
and that convinced them that
No,
He
they
was-
were convinced even from the start.
okay.
They were even from the start.
Okay.
And in one instance, do you remember that guy Lacson? One of his supporters,
Bitay.
Bitay Lacson, was there. He came to our group
Travel.
in the States. And was giving a lot of comments about FVR. I am supporting him because it's like this, it's like that, it's like. And I think that that fired up a lot of those people, that our group.
Yeah, talaga.
Bitay was terrific.
But that was so you were based in New Jersey and you were trying to round up people from New York and Washington. So basically that's eastern seaboard.
Yeah.
Were you able to replicate that from among Filipino communities or Filipino professionals around
Well,
the US?
it was mostly private gatherings because we were not publicizing our group,
Yeah.
making announcements.
Understand.
They were just all private gatherings, mostly professionals. A lot of doctors, some lawyers and business people and so forth.
Nag-reach out ba rin kayo dun sa the other UP chapters, UP communities in the other parts of the US?
Well, there are UP organizations there, but we did not go through organizations. Yeah, we were very discreet. Yeah.
So really individually.
Yeah, just our group was Washington, New York, Philadelphia, New Jersey. That's all. And we were meeting maybe every 2 or 3 weeks. Yeah.
Not bad.
Not bad, you know.
Okay. May mga challenges ba? I mean, did you encounter naysayers, people who did not believe at first but eventually shared the vision and were convinced by the program of government?
I'm sure there were, but our group was mostly agreeable to have him run. You know.
Okay.
And later on, you know, I mean, that's history. When he became president, I mean, that's history already, but he really did a lot of things right away within the first 2 years. Yeah.
Ikaw, what made you What made you a believer?
Well, aside from the personal relationship, respect for his leadership, integrity, honesty, and intellectualism. I think he was a very intelligent guy, and aside from that, he was he was a very normal human being. Good sense of humor, you know, and easy to talk to, and that sort of thing. I felt that he would be a good fit as a politician, really, because he does not antagonize people, you know.
Okay.
He does not antagonize people. He always could answer well.
Oh, okay. Public image of FVR was actually, he was very stiff. I mean, and then the persona, the aura of a military officer made people, you know, he kept his distance. You know?
He kept his distance.
There was a distance actually between him and the ordinary folk. But
I kept his distance.
But you didn't see that. You actually knew him.
I didn't see that because of the personal relations. You know, I saw him as a family man and so forth. So I did not see that. And well, you know, the rest is history. When he became president, the first 2 years solved the power crisis. I mean, that power crisis was terrible.
So he won the election, was set to become president for the next 6 years. I mean, he did call in, he did a pretty wide and broad executive search for people who would join him in his cabinet. Hindi ka ba nahagip nung lambat na yun?
Actually,
did he ask you to?
Yeah, actually, maybe 1994 or 95. And they were inaugurating something in the South to test a telephone line that they were installing. And it was noontime, and in the middle of the night, my phone rang. And somebody said, must have been the Secretary of Security, "This Dr. Limcaoco?" I said, "Yes. President Ramos would like to talk to you." And I didn't know how to react. I thought the guy was joking. It was one of my friends who was kidding around, you know. And pretty soon he was on the phone. Enteng. How are you doing? I'm sorry to bother you at this time of the night in your place, you know. But we are on a speakerphone. Some of my cabinet people are here, and so forth and so on.
Oh, this was an overseas call.
An overseas call.
Oh.
And Enteng, what still are you doing there? You have been there for a long time. You have been successful. Don't you think it's time to come back home and do something for us? You know?
Uh-oh.
Yeah, he said that.
Okay.
Do something for us.
Mm-hmm.
And, I said, well, my my spirit is always with the country and so forth. So, yeah, but you should be able to do something. And tell me what you think of this plan. I want to integrate the various government hospitals into one entity because there's no reason for the government to be involved with so many. There's a lung center, there's a heart center, there's a kidney center, and so forth. I want to integrate all of these under one administrator or under one chief and really make them work according to their mission as a lung center. And I'm sure with their exposure in the States, you probably know how these things should go and should run, what facilities they should have, so forth and so on. So yes, let's think about that.
That was a job offer.
I think it was. There were a lot of people hearing it, and when I came home, maybe a month after that, somebody was telling me, "Did you accept the position?" I said, "What position?" I said, "We were just talking."
So you never thought of taking on
Well,
his suggestion.
no, yeah, one thing interesting with my personal relations, I called up the First Lady, Ming, and I said, Ming, Eddie, call him Eddie, is sort of inviting me to come home and do this thing, do this thing, do this thing. You know what she said? And Teng, if I were you, I wouldn't come home. Ang laki ng problema dito sa mga politicians. Naku, there is so much intrigue, there is so much envy, there is so much putting down people, and so forth. And you're doing all right in the States, in the practice of your professions. And if you ever come home here, it's all trouble. It's all trouble. That's what she said.
And you took her advice. So mas nakinig ko kay Mrs. Ramos kaysa kay FVR. Okay. But did he ask you to do something else? I mean, you seem to be pretty comfortable with organizing the Filipino professionals in your side.
No, I never had any specific suggestion from him to do something, do this, do that. Except that time when he was sort of inviting me to come home.
No.
Oh, I had a wedding anniversary here. I think it was around 1994 or 95. And he spoke at the wedding anniversary. And one of the things he said, well, you're all friends of Enteng and Letty. Letty is my wife. And don't you think it's about time for Enteng to come home? He has been there a long time.
Another occasion.
He said that somewhere publicly, you know. I think it's
naman.
time.
So ano din na? You
I
just smiled off.
Yeah, I just smiled it off. Yeah. I was sort of well established in the States. And, simple life, you know. Life in the States simpler than the life here. You just do your work, do it as well as you can, and don't get involved with. There's really nothing that will bother you professionally there if you just do your work and do your own thing.
He visited the States several times.
Yes.
And the East Coast was pretty much always on the itinerary. the United Nations in New York, and then of course, if it was a state visit, then it would certainly be Washington D.C.
I was in several of those things. I would be invited. Most of the time, it's Mrs. McCabe who would invite me. But the consulate in New York later on pretty much learned that I'm a good friend, so they always invited me.
Did you get to see him up close in action? I mean, he'd bring on quite an entourage of business people from the Philippines.
Yes.
Meet up. Tell me about those. Tell me about those meetings.
He always had a group of businessmen with him, and the way I understand it from some of them I know, it's that street. They buy their own tickets. It's not a free ride. They buy their own plane tickets and so forth and so on. And I attended some of those, and it's very nice. It is planned to have some interactions with business people also in the States and so on.
He liked matching.
He's matching people, and he promotes. He promotes certain businesses in the Philippines and so forth. Yeah.
He liked to call himself, among others, as the Philippines' #1 salesman.
Yeah, he really was a salesman. And it was always like that. I think all his trips to the States, he always had an entourage of business people because he was trying to attract investments.
Okay.
So, but to my mind, as an achievement of him, the first 2 years was fantastic. He solved the power problem. He deregulated communications.
Oh, yeah.
PLDT was no longer a monopoly. He privatized water.
Yeah, the utilities.
You know how our water system at the time, it's really a shame how we had such lousy water service in those days, power service, water service. And all in the first 2 years, he was able to solve all of them. And he made peace with the MNLF. That was a big thing, I think. And after all of that, there was progress. Investors would come here, and so he improved the infrastructure.
They actually wanted to locate in the Philippines. You're very up to date.
Thank you.
He had a close call, if you remember, 96. Nandito ka ba nun?
When he had surgery?
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was here. I happened to be here at the time, and I know the doctor. I know the doctors in Makati, so I visited him right away.
Oh,
and
pumunta ka?
Pumunta ako, and one of the doctors that I know brought me around, and securities would not stop us because he's one of the doctors and so forth. I visited him in the recovery room. He did very well. Dr. George Garcia did him, and he did very well.
You weren't worried about the condition you were...
Well, I am familiar with that kind of surgery and so forth. In my profession, we usually would do the angiograms to locate the thing here, and then the surgeons would take out the plaque that is in there. It's technical, but I would say most of the time it is successful.
Okay.
More than 90% of the time. And that's what happened to him. It was successful.
And he bounced back pretty fast.
Bounced back very, very quick.
Yeah, right after.
Yeah.
But, okay. I've been asking you about, but tell me about that facet of him that you were very close to. I mean, the personal side of FVR. I mean, what was he like as a family man?
I think he was a very informal kind of guy, and he always jokes a lot, and very pleasant company at home, and really was not an overwhelming type of personality despite his stature. Yeah.
How was he like with his children? I mean, that's 5 daughters.
Yeah.
Military man. I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
was he, what were your observations?
One of the I don't know if it's complaints. One of the comments that I used to hear from the children, and they're grown up already, college students and so forth, was that Papa is always so busy. Didn't have much time for us. I was like, well, what do you expect? What with his career like that? And somebody said, one of the children said, well, now he wants to run for president. All the more he will have no time for us. I said, don't take that against your dad, you know. The country needs him, you know. And you've grown up. The country might need him more than you do right now at your present state. You know?
What has kept the connection alive and well? I mean, between the two of you.
I really believe it's family relations, mainly my sister, who is his classmate, and myself later on becoming close to them. And we would always be getting together, whether here or in the States, like family friends. Yeah, and we maintain that until now.
Friends or like family na?
Like family. Like family,
Seems
really.
to be very close. And
the children are very close to me.
yeah, some of them grew up under your
Sort of.
your stewardship when they were in the States. You have is there a special memory you have of FBR na kayong dalawa?
Well, we really were never together just by ourselves, just him and I. It's always with family, you know. So,
or was it that 40th anniversary at your place?
40th anniversary, and I remember I invited the mayor of our little town, Haddonfield. I called him up the night before, and I said, Mayor, you know, the President of the Philippines is going to visit us at our home, and it's really a personal, it's non-political, but I'm inviting you if you would like to meet him. And he said, oh, you son of a gun, I know him pretty well. Oh, you son of a gun, I am mayor of this town. Why do you think I shouldn't know what is happening in this town? I've been knowing what's going on. Secret Service is always talking to my security people and so forth. But thank you for inviting. I'll be there.
So he did come?
He did come. Oh, it was very funny. They had an interchange of humorous remarks, and he said something like, President Ramos, I'm just a small town mayor. I cannot say I'm welcoming you to the country, but I'm welcoming you to our little town. And as a matter of fact, I have this key. I'm giving you this key to the town. Something like that. He had a big key like this. Then, it's a little town, but I have this big key, which I'm giving to you. Something like that. It was very, very charming, very interesting.
What do you want people to remember of him?
I think his professionalism and his being an achiever, and obtaining consensus to do a job instead of forcing through. He was always trying to obtain consensus. And really a terrific worker. He just worked and worked and worked towards a goal, and he never lost that goal. And I think he could make people follow him by making them feel that you participate with me in this job, doing this for the country and so forth and so on. And I really think most people who followed him were inspired. They just wanted to do something, contribute what they can. It's not for ulterior motives, although I guess that cannot be avoided. There might have been some who did it for ulterior motives, but I think most of the people who worked for him really were also for trying to achieve something for the country. And they were all professionals.
Thank you very much for your time.
You're welcome.
Maraming salamat.
Salamat. Thank you.